Welcome to a journey of understanding, compassion, and enlightenment. Today we embark on a deep exploration of a core Buddhist teaching, the concept of suffering, or in the original Pali language, dukkha. This term, often translated as suffering, holds a broader meaning. It encompasses dissatisfaction, unease, and the sense that something is missing from our lives. In our contemporary society, we're often taught to chase the highs, the happiness and the pleasure, and to shy away from the lows, the pain and the suffering. It's a societal tendency to avoid or suppress any feelings of discomfort or disquiet. But in doing so, we miss out on one of the most profound teachings of Buddhism. Buddhism encourages us to face suffering, to understand its roots and its nature. It invites us to confront it, not with fear or aversion, but with an open heart. A heart ready to understand, learn, and grow. By acknowledging suffering, we open the door to empathy and compassion. Now let's delve deeper into this shared human experience. It's something we all inevitably face, regardless of our walk of life. Suffering isn't a solitary journey, but a collective one. It's a thread that binds us together, connecting us in ways we sometimes fail to see. Picture this, a world where suffering is not tucked away in the shadows, but brought into the light. A world where people don't shy away from the pain of others, but reach out with understanding and kindness. In this world, suffering is not a sign of weakness to be hidden, but a testament to our shared humanity. Imagine a friend confiding in you about their struggles. You don't dismiss or belittle their pain. Instead, you listen, you empathize, you offer comfort. Why? Because you too have felt pain. You too have felt loss. You too have experienced the bitter sting of disappointment. This shared experience allows you to understand their suffering and respond with compassion. Now, let's broaden our scope. Imagine a society where we acknowledge collective suffering. Whether it's the grief of losing a loved one, the stress of losing a job, or the anxiety of living in uncertain times. Recognizing these shared experiences, we extend our empathy not just to those within our immediate circle, but to strangers near and far. In this compassionate society, suffering is no longer an isolating experience. Instead, it becomes a catalyst for connection, understanding, and support. We begin to see our pain reflected in the eyes of others, and in that moment of shared recognition, we're reminded that we're not alone. This understanding doesn't magically take away the pain, but it does help us bear it with greater resilience. It fosters a sense of solidarity, a feeling of togetherness in our struggles. It makes us kinder, more compassionate beings. In the face of suffering, we find the opportunity to extend our empathy, to reach out with a helping hand, to offer a comforting word. We find the chance to be there for one another, to share in our collective strength, and to transform our pain into a source of connection and support. And so, suffering becomes a catalyst for connection, understanding, and support. The Buddha's teachings remind us that life inevitably contains moments of joy and sorrow. With the ebbs and flows of existence, we encounter experiences that challenge us, push us to our limits, and sometimes even break us. But within these experiences, there lies an opportunity for growth and transformation. Let's consider a real-life story. Imagine a woman who has faced a series of hardships. She has lost a job, endured a painful breakup, and struggled with her mental health. At the height of her suffering, she begins to question her worth, her purpose, and her ability to move forward. But as she navigates the tumultuous waves of her life, she starts to recognize her resilience, her strength, and her capacity to endure. In the midst of her suffering, she learns to cultivate patience, empathy, and self-love. She begins to understand that her struggles have not defined her, but rather they have shaped her. They have sharpened her wisdom, deepened her compassion, and ignited her pursuit of purpose. Through her suffering, she has grown. This is the wisdom in suffering. It's the realization that our struggles can become our greatest teachers, guiding us towards a path of self-discovery and personal growth. Now let's draw a parallel with the lotus flower, a symbol often used in Buddhism. A lotus flower grows in muddy waters, pushing through the murkiness to bloom beautifully at the surface. Just like this flower, we too can rise from our suffering, blooming into a more compassionate, wise, and resilient version of ourselves. The transformation of the lotus flower mirrors our own potential transformation. It's a testament to the power of resilience, the beauty of growth, and the wisdom that can be gained from suffering. It's a gentle reminder that even in the toughest of circumstances, there is an opportunity for growth and enlightenment. Suffering in its various forms is a powerful teacher. It shows us our limits, our need for growth, and the impermanence of all things. It pushes us to confront our weaknesses, to expand our understanding, and to foster a deep sense of compassion for ourselves and others. Through suffering, we learn, we grow, and ultimately we bloom. Buddhism offers a path that encourages us to confront suffering with an open heart and to seek understanding, compassion, and enlightenment. This is a journey not of avoidance, but of acceptance and empathy. It asks us to recognize the suffering that exists within us and around us, and to respond with kindness and compassion rather than fear or aversion. In our daily lives, we may encounter suffering in various forms. Perhaps it's a friend going through a tough time or a stranger looking lost and confused. Perhaps it's our own feelings of frustration, anxiety, or disappointment. Instead of turning away, we can choose to turn toward these moments of suffering. We can offer a listening ear, a comforting word, or simply our presence. This act of turning towards suffering, of meeting it with compassion, is transformative. It allows us to connect on a deeper level with others, fostering a sense of shared humanity. It also changes our relationship with our own suffering. Instead of seeing it as something to be feared or avoided, we begin to see it as a teacher, a guide, a catalyst for growth and understanding. This doesn't mean that we should seek out suffering or wallow in it. Rather, it means acknowledging its existence, recognizing its universality, and responding with compassion. It's about letting go of our resistance and opening our hearts to the reality of life with all its joys and sorrows. So how do we cultivate this compassion? It begins with understanding that suffering is a part of life, not something to be banished or denied. Understanding that everyone we meet is carrying some form of it. And understanding that through compassion, we can help to ease this burden for others and for ourselves. In a world where we often feel pressured to present a facade of happiness and success, this approach may seem counterintuitive, but it's in these moments of vulnerability, of shared suffering and shared compassion, that we often find the deepest connections, the most profound insights, and the greatest opportunities for growth. Imagine a world where, instead of turning away from suffering, we turn toward it, offering comfort and solace. By doing so, we not only ease the suffering of others, but also our own,